What would you do if a complete stranger walked into your office and promised you $20 million just for writing a simple piece of paper? But there's a catch. To get that money, you have to keep a secret that might eventually cost you your life. Trust is a dangerous thing in a small town, especially when money is involved. That's a quote from the book we're diving into today, and it hits differently when you realize how easily a sure thing can turn into a death sentence. Now look, I know we usually spend our time here on the channel talking about business strategies, rise and grind mentalities, and how to optimize your portfolio. But every now and then, the brain just needs to step away from the spreadsheets and the market trends. Today we're taking a detour. We're swapping the business charts for a high-stakes legal thriller. Think of this as a mental palate cleanser, a way to relax, get lost in a world of mystery, and remind ourselves that sometimes the biggest deals are the ones we should never have signed. We're looking at The Widow by the undisputed king of the genre, John Grisham. Meet Simon Latch, the desperate professional. To understand this story, you have to understand our protagonist, Simon Latch. Simon isn't a high-flying partner at a Manhattan firm. He's a guy in his 50s, operating out of a dusty office in Braxton, Virginia. And honestly, Simon is someone we can all relate to when things start going south. He's drowning. His marriage to Paula is essentially a Cold War. He's actually living in a tiny, depressing apartment above his office just to avoid the tension at home. But here's the kicker. Simon has a secret gambling habit. He owes money to a local bookie named Chubb, and his bank account is looking pretty grim. He's a street lawyer who has spent 20 years doing the right thing, but he's tired. He's looking for a score. Enter Eleanor Netty Barnett. She's 85, eccentric, and she walks into Simon's life with a claim that sounds like a fairy tale. She says her late husband left her a hidden fortune in Coca-Cola and Walmart stocks, $20 million, that no one else knows about. She wants to change her will because her previous lawyer was basically trying to steal from her. Simon doesn't just see a client, he sees a life raft. He starts thinking, if I handle this estate, the fees alone will solve every single one of my problems. He gets a little greedy, not villain greedy, but human greedy. He drafts a new will, where he's the executor and trustee. He thinks he's finally hit the jackpot. The psychology of the long game. For the next few chapters, Grisham plays with our heads. Netty is prickly and secretive. She refuses to show Simon the actual stock certificates. She claims they are somewhere safe. As a viewer, you start to wonder, is Simon being played? Or is he the one playing her? Simon starts doing things he's never done. He buys her expensive gifts, specifically these gourmet cookies she loves, just to stay in her good graces. He's investing in the relationship. But then, the atmosphere shifts. Netty is involved in a serious car accident. Suddenly, Simon finds himself in a position of immense power. He is her medical proxy, her legal guardian, and the only person with the keys to her kingdom. He's so close to that $20 million he can almost smell it. But in a Grisham novel, that's exactly when the floor falls out from under you. The poisoned cookie, the nightmare begins. Netty dies in the hospital. It looks like a tragic end for an old woman, but the local authorities get an anonymous tip. They perform an autopsy and find thallium, a deadly, tasteless poison, in her system. And where was the thallium found? Inside the half-eaten box of cookies that Simon Latch had personally delivered to her room. Just like that, our morally gray lawyer goes from seeking a fortune to fighting for his life. He's arrested for first-degree murder. The media and the town immediately turn on him. He's no longer the helpful local lawyer. He's the greedy predator who killed the sweet old widow. Grisham spends a lot of time here showing us the isolation of the accused. Simon loses everything overnight. His wife leaves him for good, his bank accounts are frozen, and he's sitting in an orange jumpsuit wondering how a $20 million dream turned into a life sentence. The irony of the fortune. This is the part of the book that will genuinely haunt you. During the legal proceedings, a court-appointed investigator looks into Netty's millions. The $20 million fortune? It didn't exist. Netty's husband had lost everything decades ago in a failed resort investment in the Caribbean. The stocks were a fantasy she maintained to keep her social standing in a town that thrives on gossip. Simon had risked his reputation, his family, and his freedom for a pile of nothing. But here's the terrifying part of the legal system. The prosecution doesn't care that the money wasn't real. Their argument is, it doesn't matter that there was no money. It only matters that Simon Latch believed there was. That belief, to a jury, is a motive for murder. Simon is now a man fighting to prove his innocence for a crime committed over a ghost. The resolution: finding the real killer. From his jail cell, Simon has to become the detective he never wanted to be. With the help of a tech-savvy associate named Xander, they start looking into the hospital staff. They discover a nurse named Kofi, who has a history of mysterious deaths, following him from hospital to hospital. It turns out Simon wasn't the only one who believed the legend of the wealthy widow. The real killer was someone who thought they were liberating a wealthy, ungrateful woman. The ending isn't a happy one in the traditional sense. Simon clears his name, but he is a broken man. He's lost his career and his standing. It's a sobering reminder that in the pursuit of the big score, we often lose the very things that made our lives worth living in the first place. So, I want to hear your take. Do you think Simon was a victim, or did his own greed lead him into that trap? If a stranger offered you a deal that looked that good, would you have asked more questions, or would you have jumped at the chance like he did? Drop your opinions in the comments. I really want to get a discussion going on this one. This deep dive into the legal and psychological world of John Grisham was brought to you by the BloomShelf Hub. We believe that a well-rounded person needs more than just business tips. They need stories that challenge their ethics and keep their mind sharp. If you enjoyed this 20-minute detour and want more high-quality book summaries that go beyond the surface, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to BloomShelf Hub, and stay tuned for our next episode. We're building a library for the curious mind, and we're glad you're a part of it. Stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.